What's up, gang? It's Kurt here with part 2 of my tree tutorial focusing on trunks and branches. Check out my page for part 1 on leaves. For this segment, I'll be using the stump, as you can use the same techniques for branches as well. I usually start out with the silhouette because it makes these interesting shapes in the tree, and it also is a way that I can carve out the bark texture within this shape. Let's talk about the texture. This is a picture from just around my neighborhood, and I'm marking how the bark informs the shape and growth pattern of the tree. You can see how the texture flows in the pattern, and it's guided from the roots to the branches, and I'm going to take that idea and apply it to my stump. As I'm ready to start blocking in my texture, I'm making sure I know where my light source is coming from. This lets me know the general boundaries of where my highlights and shadows are going to be, and once I have a good idea of where that is, then I can go in my lighter colors and carve out this texture. I think working with the lighter colors first, at least on this bark, makes it easier to see the texture, especially since my silhouette kind of supplements those shadow colors, but I do still use darker colors for the areas that are in shadow, but you just don't have to put a lot of attention on it. And lastly, I go in with my highlighted colors and really define those shapes. As you can see, it's a whole process for the blocking in, but I normally do the lighter and then the darker and then finally go back with the highlights. A technique that I like to use is blurring my subject. This breaks down the object into its most basic values and forms so that you can see what is and isn't working. I'm marking what I want to change or what looks odd, and then I'm going to undo the blur and then render it out. For this rendering, I'm using a softer brush so that I can mix colors and get those in-between hues. And honestly, I don't do this all the time. Sometimes I like the rougher look, but it all depends on the piece that I'm working on. But what I always try to do is give my subject some character. I give my tree a cool bend or notch or a cool crack down the side that'll make it a little bit more interesting. One, this makes the painting process more enjoyable for me, stretches my abilities and my mind as an artist. And then two, I think it just gives your audience cool things to see and stimulate their imagination. Boom, that's how I do trunks. There's so many different choices you can make, but I start off with this silhouette. I also use the warp tool and eraser to make sure that my shape is as interesting as it can get. And then I carve out this texture using my highlights first, and then my shadows, and then I go in and soften those edges and find those mixing colors to really make it pop, and I enhance that lighting as well. For the final part of my tutorial, I'll be putting these two lessons together and painting a tree, hopefully live. So if you want to stay updated, then give me a follow, a like, hit the links in my bio. Thanks.